The morning sun bled through the hospital window, painting Olivia Wilson's patient in a soft, hopeful light. As a nurse at Northwest Regional, she moved with a quiet competence that had earned the trust of every soul on her ward. The buzz of her phone was an intrusion. A text from her husband. Robert, don't forget dinner at Mom's tonight. Final meeting for Vanessa's wedding. A familiar weight settled in her chest. 5 years of marriage to Robert Wilson, and 5 years of feeling like a stranger in his family's pristine, cold world. Carol Wilson, matriarch of a distinguished Boston suburban family, had never considered her son's marriage to a middle-class nurse a cause for celebration. To her, Olivia's dedication during the pandemic merely confirmed she was a glorified helper, a sentiment Vanessa, Robert's sister, echoed with relish. And the absence of children? That was simply a dereliction of Olivia's duty to continue the line. That evening, Vanessa's luxury car was already parked at the curb when they arrived at the Bridgewater mansion. Inside, Carol and Vanessa were huddled on a silk sofa, their conversation halting as Olivia entered. Finally, Carol said, her smile a thin, cold line, "Where's Robert? Work ran late. He'll be along. Then we'll start without him." Vanessa's wedding to Michael Stanford, an executive from Old Money, was Carol's social coup de grace. "We're finalizing the guest list," Vanessa announced, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You and Robert will be at the family table, of course. Let me know if there's anything I can help with," Olivia offered, the words automatic. "The planner has it all handled." Vanessa dismissed her with a wave. "You just need to show up." Olivia retreated into silence, a spectator in a room lined with Wilson family photos. Her own wedding picture was a small, framed afterthought on a distant shelf. When Robert arrived, his kiss on her cheek was a brief anchor in the rising tide of exclusion. As dinner was served, the conversation swirled around the Stanford's wealth and reputation. "Olivia," Carol's voice cut through the chatter, "we'll need a little more support this month. Vanessa's wedding has incurred some additional expenses." The monthly stipend they provided since Robert's father's death was the bedrock of Carol's lavish lifestyle. As they were leaving, the housekeeper, Martha, approached Olivia, her eyes downcast. "Mrs. Wilson, for tomorrow's rehearsal, what time should we expect the additional staff?" Olivia blinked. "The staff? I'm a guest." Martha flushed, mortified. "My apologies, madam, I misunderstood." In the car, the silence was heavy, the mental fatigue of 100 such slights pressed down on Olivia. What fresh humiliation awaited her at the wedding? She steeled herself. For Robert, she would endure it with dignity. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a perfect, untroubled blue over the Windsor Hotel. Olivia smoothed the folds of her simple navy blue dress, chosen precisely to avoid criticism. "You look beautiful," Robert said, his hands on her shoulders. "Let's go. Mother will make a scene if we're late." The hotel lobby shimmered with opulence. At the flower-adorned reception desk, Robert announced them, "Mr. and Mrs. Wilson." The attendant smiled, producing 2 name tags. "Of course. Here you are." Olivia took hers. Her smile froze. The card read, in elegant script, "Olivia Wilson, housekeeper." Her blood ran cold. "Robert, is there a problem?" Carol's voice, smooth as ice, came from behind. She was resplendent in light purple, a smile of supreme satisfaction on her lips. "Carol, this tag, there's a mistake," Olivia managed, her voice tight. Carol glanced at it. "Oh, it looks correct to me. You're the family's help, are you not?" The words were a physical blow. Robert's face darkened. "What is this?" "I'll have this fixed immediately." "No," Olivia said quietly, her voice trembling but firm. She took the tag and tucked it into her pocket, a small, defiant burial. "It's Vanessa's day. Let's not make a scene." "A wise choice," Carol murmured before gliding away. The ceremony was a beautiful blur. Olivia felt Carol's gaze like a chill on her neck throughout. At the reception, they were guided to the family table, where Michael's parents, James and Eleanor Stanford, sat with Carol. As waiters served exquisite appetizers, they placed one before every guest except Olivia. Her place setting remained cruelly, conspicuously empty. "Excuse me." She stopped a waiter. "My meal?" "My instructions, madam," he whispered, not meeting her eyes. Robert called away to Vanessa's table. was gone. Olivia was alone in a crowd of 200. You look like you've seen a ghost. Vanessa materialized beside her, a malicious glint in her eye. Why are you doing this? Olivia's whisper was raw. Vanessa leaned in, her voice a venomous whisper. The meal is for family. People like you don't count. It was the final straw. A dam broke inside her. All the years of condescension, the belittlement, the erasure, it culminated in this single, pointed cruelty. Slowly, deliberately, Olivia rose. The room's chatter began to die, eyes turning toward her. She placed her napkin on the table. Then, in the dead silence, she slid the silver wedding band from her finger. The soft click as it met the marble tabletop echoed through the ballroom. If I am not family, she said, her voice clear and resolute, then I will not stay. Olivia, wait, Robert called, rushing back. It was a joke. Carol's voice was suddenly shrill, desperate, a poor joke. Come back. But Olivia was already walking, her back straight, her head high. She moved through the stunned silence with a dignity they could never touch. Just before she reached the door, she turned. Carol was pale. Vanessa was speechless, and on Eleanor Stanford's face, there was not pity, but pure, unadulterated fury. Outside, she gulped the fresh air, her heart shattered but her spirit feeling a strange, soaring liberation. Wait, please, a voice called. Eleanor Stanford was hurrying toward her, her elegant composure replaced by fierce empathy. What they did, it was monstrous, unforgivable. Olivia offered a tear-filled smile. Thank you, Eleanor, but I can't stay. I know, Eleanor said, grasping her hand, but know this, you are the only one who acted with class today. As Olivia's taxi pulled away, the wedding behind her descended into chaos. Robert, holding his wife's abandoned ring, turned on his family, his fury quiet and terrifying. Eleanor was already addressing Carol and a stricken Vanessa, her voice cold. We value family. We value respect. This spectacle is something we cannot be associated with. Across the room, Michael was pulling his hand from Vanessa's grip, his own dream wedding crumbling to dust. We need to talk, Vanessa. Seriously. Robert didn't stay to hear it. He was already in his car, driving home, his heart pounding with a mix of rage and remorse. When he found her, she was on the sofa, curled up and finally letting the tears fall. He didn't speak. He simply gathered her in his arms, holding her as if he could absorb all the pain they had caused. I'm so sorry, he whispered, his voice thick. You are my family. You are my everything. Their poison ends now. He pulled back, his expression hard with a new resolve. The support money stops today. She has assets. She just doesn't have us. Olivia looked at him, seeing the shift in him, from pacifying son to protective husband. The wound was deep, but his conviction began to stitch it closed. And them? She asked quietly. We, he corrected gently, will decide that together, on our terms. From now on, everything is on our terms. Outside, the sun set, casting long shadows but also promising the clean slate of a new dawn. For the first time in 5 years, they were truly alone together, and it felt like enough. It felt like a beginning. Cautiously, Robert took her hand. I think we need to keep our distance for a while, until my mother and sister offer a genuine, unprompted apology. They sat in the quiet of their living room, the setting sun painting the walls in hues of orange and gold. Amid the lingering sadness, a new, resilient determination began to take root. Then, with a shy, hopeful smile, Robert asked, what about a weekend away? Just us. I know a quiet cottage on the coast in Maine. A true smile, the first in days, returned to Olivia's face. I'd love that. We need that time, just for us. Their phones lit up and buzzed throughout the night, calls from Carol, a flurry of texts from a panicked Vanessa, even one from Michael. They let them go to voicemail. The sanctuary of their own company was non-negotiable. The next morning, Robert called the bank to halt the automatic transfers to his mother's account. Olivia contacted her supervisor to request personal time. Her boss's response was immediate and warm. Of course, Olivia, you've given so much to everyone here. Take all the time you need. Desperate messages from Carol piled up. Robert finally responded with a single, calm text. We need space. Your actions, and Vanessa's, were cruel and unacceptable. Olivia is my wife and my family. Our relationship will be redefined by your ability to understand that. As they packed, Olivia looked out the window. The morning sun gilded the garden, a stark contrast to the shadow of yesterday's humiliation. The pain was still there, a tender bruise on her heart, but beneath it pulsed a newfound sense of liberation. I'm ready, Robert said, his hand a comforting weight on her shoulder. Olivia turned with a steady smile. So am I. Let's go. In the mailbox on their way out was a letter on heavy, elegant stationery. It was from Michael. Olivia opened it in the car. Dear Olivia and Robert, it began. I am writing to express my profound disgust and apology for the events at the wedding. My parents and I were appalled. Consequently, the wedding has been indefinitely postponed. I have made it clear to Vanessa that her character, and that of her family, must be seriously re-evaluated. Olivia, your dignity was the only one present that day. I wish you both peace on your trip. Sincerely, Michael Stanford. They drove in a reflective silence, the letter confirming the seismic shift their stand had caused. A week of salty air and quiet mornings by the sea worked its magic. They were enjoying a leisurely breakfast in their main cottage when Robert's phone rang again. He glanced at the screen, sighed, and silenced it. Carol? Olivia asked, gazing at the tranquil ocean. 10th call since yesterday, he confirmed, taking a sip of coffee. I have messages from Vanessa, too, Olivia said, showing him her phone. The screen displayed a stream of unread texts. The latest reading, Olivia, please, I'm so sorry, can we talk? They let the sea breeze and the rustle of lace curtains fill the silence. They might need more time to sit with the consequences, Robert said quietly, to figure out if this is real remorse or just damage control. Olivia placed her hand over his. I know, and I support the distance, but we can't shut the door forever. I know, he sighed. It's just that when I think of that name tag, the empty place setting. On their final day, the cottage owner handed Robert a local paper. Thought you might find this interesting, he'd said. Back in the car, Robert opened it. A headline read, Stanford family announces major healthcare initiative. The article detailed a new fund established by James and Eleanor Stanford to support frontline healthcare workers. A quote from Eleanor stood out. We believe in honoring true heroism and dedication. This is about building a society that values substance over status. Is this because of me? Olivia whispered, stunned. Robert looked at the article, then at his wife. I think it's their way of making a statement, a very powerful one. Returning home, they found more mail. Among the bills was a formal notice of Vanessa's wedding postponement and a personal, handwritten apology from Eleanor Stanford, expressing her respect for Olivia and her hope for their future happiness. 3 weeks later, Olivia had returned to the hospital. Her colleagues noticed a change, a quieter confidence, a more assured presence. One evening after her shift, she found a familiar but diminished figure waiting by her car. Carol Wilson, devoid of her usual glamour, dressed in a simple, unadorned coat, looked tired and small. Olivia. Carol's voice was thin, almost fragile. Might we talk? Just for a moment? Olivia studied the woman before her. The armor of arrogance was gone. All right, she agreed quietly. In a nearby cafe, Carol clutched her coffee without drinking it. My behavior was unforgivable, she began, tears welling in her eyes. I was blinded by my own ridiculous pride. I never saw you. I never saw the incredible woman my son married. Olivia listened, her guard up, searching for authenticity in every word. The Stanfords have cut all ties, Carol admitted, a bitter smile touching her lips. Michael told Vanessa the marriage is contingent on her demonstrating a fundamental change of character. And Vanessa? Olivia asked. She's reflecting. For the first time, she is facing the consequences of her cruelty. A heavy silence settled between them. I'm selling the mansion, Carol confessed abruptly. Without Robert's support, the pretense is over. I've found a small apartment. This was the most shocking evidence of change yet. The woman who lived for status was voluntarily letting it all go. Carol, Olivia said, choosing her words with care. I believe people can change. I can accept that. But rebuilding trust, that will take time. Carol nodded, a glimmer of hope in her weary eyes. That's all I ask for. A chance to prove I am trying to become a better person. That night, Olivia relayed the conversation to Robert. He listened intently, his expression thoughtful. Then we'll meet with her, he decided. But the dynamic has changed forever. She needs to understand that. The following weekend, they visited Carol's modest new apartment. She welcomed them warmly and had prepared a simple lunch. You cooked? Robert asked, unable to hide his surprise. A YouTube tutorial, she said, slightly embarrassed. It's a work in progress. The conversation was stilted at first, but Carol spoke openly about her realizations and her shame over her past values. It felt, for the first time, unscripted and true. Before they left, Carol pressed a small box into Olivia's hand. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet. Engraved on it was a simple phrase, "Family is a choice made with the heart." I have miles to go, Carol said softly, but I want you to know I am choosing to see you as my daughter. From that day, a cautious, new relationship began to form. Robert resumed a modest allowance to ensure her comfort, but the days of funding a lavish lifestyle were over. Carol accepted it with grace. A month later, Vanessa requested a meeting. The entitled haughtiness was gone, replaced by a hesitant humility. I will regret that day for the rest of my life, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I don't ask for your forgiveness, only for the opportunity to show you I can be different. Olivia offered a gentle smile. People can change, Vanessa. I believe that. As autumn leaves turned to gold, the family tentatively agreed to counseling, committing to the hard work of building something new and healthy. One evening, Olivia and Robert sat on their porch, watching the sunset paint the sky. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of wood smoke and earth. I never thought that day of such pain could lead to this, Olivia mused, her head on his shoulder. Robert held her close. It wasn't the pain that changed things, it was your courage in facing it. 1 year later, the gentle hum of conversation and laughter filled Olivia and Robert's backyard. Olivia, her hand resting on her rounded belly, put the final touches on a garden table. Let me get that, Carol fussed, gently taking a tray from her hands. You should be resting. The change in her was profound. She now volunteered at the hospital and spoke of patients with genuine compassion. Vanessa and Michael, married in a small, sincere ceremony months prior, joined the gathering. Vanessa's focus was no longer on status, but on connection. How are you feeling? Vanessa asked, her concern for Olivia genuine. Tired, and wonderful, Olivia laughed. Robert, manning the grill, watched the scene, his mother, his sister, and his wife, talking and laughing together, with a deep, abiding satisfaction. A toast, Michael proposed, raising his glass, to new beginnings, and to family, the one you're born into, and the one you build. Glasses clinked together over the joyful chorus, to family. As dusk settled, wrapping the garden in a soft, golden light, Carol gave Olivia one last gift, a beautifully hand-knitted baby blanket. I made it myself, she said, her voice full of emotion. It's not perfect, but it was made with love. Tears welled in Olivia's eyes as she hugged her mother-in-law. It's perfect, thank you. Under the emerging stars, Robert sat beside his wife, his arm around her. That terrible day was a crucible, Olivia said softly. It burned away everything that was false. Robert nodded, and what was left was stronger, truer. From across the patio, Carol heard them. She smiled, a quiet peace in her heart as she looked forward to welcoming her grandchild, a child who would only ever know a family bound by love and hard-won respect. The story wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was theirs.